Welcome to day 2 of the Western Region Homeland Security Advisory Councils of Massachusetts of our First Responder Mental Health Resilience Conference. I'm Rain Brown, Program Manager with the Council here at Franklin Regional Council of Governments in Greenfield, Massachusetts. Several years ago, the Council launched its Mental Health Resilience Project. A primary objective of this project is to create sustainable resources for Western Mass first responder community and beyond. This conference stands as one such resource and will help to build community connections through learning and sharing to prevent injury and increase resilience. A couple of housekeeping items. The chat is enabled for you to speak with myself and our other co-hosts. If you have any technical questions throughout the program, please chat directly to our tech persons, Rachel or Ira, who are identified as tech in front of their name, so you can easily contact them. And if you have any concerns or questions regarding the conference itself or other aspects of the First Responder Mental Health Project, please chat me directly. And we will incorporate a trauma-informed approach throughout this conference that is collaborative and profound. In the spirit of this approach, we invite you to engage in all session activities while maintaining self-care. Please take a break from the training if you need. Understand the sessions are not therapy nor a replacement for treatment, and a caution not to disclose or describe traumatic material. We encourage you to speak from your own experience because your experience profoundly matters, and to assume the best intentions in this community of learning and sharing across disciplines. Please send me a private message via chat box if you'd like to connect with additional resources. A key purpose of our conference today is to help all first responders and your organizations become safe and resilient. What we'd like to know moving forward is if each session was indeed effective for you. You'll be receiving a survey at the end of each day, and we deeply appreciate all your feedback as it will help us shape our next steps, future trainings, and conferences. Most of our sessions will be recorded and available post-conference, and we ask that you keep your mic muted to reduce background noise. And we will have Q&A throughout each session. So, and we'll let you know how that is going to be run for each session. We hope that you can join us for the following days of this conference, which will continue throughout Thursdays in October. We still have ability to take more people in for registration. So if you follow the link that's in the chat, you can share that with others who may be interested in this conference. And to welcome us to day 2 of our First Responder Mental Health Resilience Conference, please welcome Chief Jennifer Gundersen, Police Chief of South Hadley Police Department in Western Massachusetts. Chief Gundersen has been a police officer since 1994. After spending 24 years working in the town of Amherst as a police officer, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, and then captain, Chief Gundersen joined the South Hadley Police Department in 2019. Thank you, Chief.
Good morning, Rain. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the Security Council inviting me this morning. I've utilized your training and resources in the past, and it's just a great organization. And as a police leader, I appreciate the proactiveness of the organization and bringing this resiliency training and others to public safety employees all over the Commonwealth. And I appreciate looking through the list of attendees and seeing how many fire and EMS and PSAP and police officers that are in attendance, emergency managers. It's truly multidisciplinary, and that's what really public safety is. And to all the attendees, I assume that you're here because you have a concern about the psychological injuries that you or your colleagues may face, and you just are really looking for more tools in your toolbox to be able to assist yourself and to assist your agencies. So I commend you for your dedication and your willingness to be here all these mornings. I know that we're all so very busy, and you carving out this time is critically important to the sustainability of our colleagues. Strength, bravery, grit. I mean, those are all high valued traits of public safety employees. We sort of have this whatever it takes mentality. And unfortunately, that whatever it takes mentality perpetuates a stigma around mental health issues as unfortunately it being seen as a sign of weakness. And that's truly a misconception. And what I want to bring to you all is how can you explore and identify ways to remove this stigma and to create sustainable cultural change within our organizations where resiliency, mental health, getting resources and assistance is not associated with a stigma. Really, the stigma should be attached when we refuse to access those resources, or when the stigma should be attached to an organization, that when an organization isn't well educated on what those resources are. This new culture, this culture change that we need to have throughout all of public safety is that all first responders should have access to peer support. And I'm sure many in the audience are well versed in peer support, but we still see a lot of communities, big and small, that don't have that opportunity. So I challenge you all to identify internal organizations or regional organizations where we can develop stronger peer support and that cultural change. We need a cultural change where all first responders value the resiliency techniques that we can learn here and what you bring back to your agencies. And those techniques, positive thinking, mindfulness, good nutrition, good wellness. How do we bring purpose to our life beyond just our jobs, whatever that looks like to you for your spirituality. But these resiliency techniques are invaluable to be able to promote our wellness. And we need that cultural change, that those terms are acceptable. Mindfulness is acceptable within our organization. Meditation is acceptable. Yoga is acceptable. A cultural change in our organizations where we support public safety campaigns around suicide prevention for first responders. And we do that in conjunction with the National Mental Health Month. Why are we afraid to acknowledge that suicide is within our ranks? And can we use our organizations to be able to promote that and be able to help our members? We need to develop a cultural change where it is okay and acceptable that our organizations have clinicians on staff or accessible to us. The time to find clinicians isn't when we're in the middle of that emergency. If you've done any debriefing in the incidents of the Pulse shooting, the Las Vegas shooting, Newtown, Dallas, police officers being shot, and all of those agencies in their debrief talk about the difficulties they had accessing clinical support in the time of crisis. So we need to be proactive when we do that. We want to also have organizations where we can promote family readiness. When you talk to any public safety employee, I think one of the first things they say that bring them stress in their lives is their families. So can we come up with ideas and tactics and to have our families ready for the stressors that we face within our job, but also how that impacts them in their lives. And I think we need to really include our families a little bit more in our professional lives. Can we have a cultural change where we have crisis lines just for public safety employees? I know New Jersey has their own state specific public safety line where you can call this number and identify yourself as a public safety employee, and they're trained in what we face, being a PSAP operator, police officer, firefighter, EMS emergency management. Could we have a cultural change in our organization where it's acceptable that we have periodical health checks for our mental wellness? And as a police manager, I support this wholly, but I also struggle with the union coming back to me and saying that they should get paid to go to those. And I'll be frank, I don't understand. I've never been paid when I've gone to speak to my counselor, so I don't understand why that's necessary. But we should have that dialogue of how we can promote as an organization wellness checks for mental health. So, and from our leadership, we do need changes, and I can absolutely acknowledge that our leaders have fallen short often when it is to embrace these. So we want an organization that fosters a climate that promotes engagement and discussion around these issues. And again, you can write policies, but culture can eat policies for lunch, and we all know that. So it really needs to be a cultural shift. We need a culture shift from our leaders where we engage and encourage personnel to seek mental health resources and assistance, and to build their own resiliency. We need organization and leadership that have awareness around behavioral health care. That's where we have signs for, say, suicide prevention calls right in our offices where employees can come in, and we're not afraid to have those things posted when we're within our office so our employees can see that. We also need to understand as leaders, and where we've somewhere fallen short, and I hope that we'll do better on it, is recognizing that accessing mental health resources and resiliency is really no different than any other healthcare problem that our colleagues may be facing. And it should be treated the same internally or externally, where if somebody was having a cardiac issue, we'd have them in our office and we'd be asking about it and offering advice of what doctors they're seeing. And I'm not saying that we need to have one-on-one with every one of our employees that are dealing with these stressors, but they need to know that we're open to this and that we understand the challenges that our employees are facing. Another way that our leaders fall short, and we really need a cultural change to sustain this momentum, is that we need to better staff our agencies with personnel. We should not be valuing our employees that work 100 hours a week more than our employees that work 40 hours a week and then choose 60 hours of recreational or wellness or meditation time, whatever that is. Unfortunately, I think we still have this mentality that the more you work, the better you are. And that actually isn't the case. I would argue that that 40-hour employee that's having 60 hours of wellness or recreation or family time is a much better employee, and they're going to offer us better longevity within our public safety profession. What I will say to those that aren't supervisors right now, and I try to say this within my organization a lot, you need to lead your leader, right? I don't come up with all the ideas. I'm actually not paid to come up with the ideas. I'm paid to listen to your ideas and value them and support them and get funding for them. But your chiefs, your managers, your directors, they're not the idea people. You're the idea people. You know, all too often in public safety, we think that we cannot change our ways. And our new employees, our Generation Zs and Xers and Millennials, they're ripe for change and they're ready for change. And I think they look at some of us, you know, it used to be a sense of pride. I've got 25 years on. That actually means I'm sort of a dinosaur in the way I think. I'd like to think I'm better than that, but that's how most of my new colleagues look at me. So I need them to lead me on these ideas. As managers, we need to know that these millennials and Generation Zs, they've been accessing resources for a while. So they come into our profession and there's sort of a stigma attached to getting help. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to them. I mean, some figures say that 40% of those generation employees, our colleagues, have accessed mental health. So we need to remove the stigma that goes with it. And this is a generation that comes to us with stressors, quite frankly, that I never had to deal with: school shootings and student death, student debt, politics, social media, having to constantly be connected to your device. I think our new employees even have more stressors than we have. So I encourage you to lead your leaders towards resiliency and ideas within your organization. So things that we can support as leaders: on-site fitness, and the ability that mental health and physical health are so closely tied to each other. Organizations should be able to embrace wellness opportunities, relaxation opportunities, mindfulness, training around mindfulness, training around yoga. And we need to provide locations within our department where we can offer those resources. We need to have a list of clinicians that are acceptable to our organizations, that our peer support personnel can point people to, that have already been vetted by us. And quite frankly, I don't think a chief, a fire chief, or the head of an EMS or a police department should be the one screening our clinicians. I really think that needs to be from the ground level of employees.